That's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody.
Hello.
We've been asked by Lauren. She suggested that we send a little video because I'm afraid we're not going to be there to celebrate with you for this fantastic 40th anniversary of the Society, which we think is fantastic and wonderful. We're going to be away in New Zealand doing Dragonfly stuff. So we've contributed a thing for the newsletter. So we thought we'd, rather than repeat all that, which you can read for yourselves, we thought we might tell you some little stories which have involved the British Dragonfly Society during the time since we first got with the Society, which was back in 1987. So just a few stories. The first one was when we had to go and visit Norman Moore. We were sent by Miriam Rothschild, Kari's aunt, to see Norman, and she became the patron of the Society in the end. We had tea with them, and Norman took me away and basically forced me to join the British Dragonfly Society. But in the meantime, Kari was with Norman's wife Janet, and here's what happened there.
Well, as Ruary was being forced to write and sign this form, she told me about a little story about that they had both gone to some obscure island. I think it was in Indonesia, and she was doing research on Nemertian worms, and he was looking at the dragonflies, and I thought this was inspirational, an inspirational couple.
So that was that. Then I've got a memory of going to the first meeting in 1987 of the British Dragonfly in November in Leeds, and meeting all these people who were nuts about dragonflies, which was so exciting. Sitting beside two people that I'd read about and were already heroes. I actually sat between Norman Moore and Philip Corbett at lunchtime and helped with the shop. With Jill Silsby in the afternoon, and Bill Wayne bought a yellow sweater, I remember. And also, being given a lift back by Brian Eversham, talking about an atlas for dragonflies. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, that's the second thing that happened. We thought we might actually do it in a sense of instars. So our first instar being with Norman, and the second instar being at the Leeds meeting, and then the third instar for us was setting up Ashton Water Dragonfly Society, and there's a story with that which Kari might like to tell you.
Well, my sister and I were in a canoe on the little lake that we had down there, and we were looking at various emergences of dragonflies, but also looking at a little island. And my sister wasn't used to doing this sort of thing, so I said to her, whatever you do, do not lean over and reach for something when you're in a canoe, which I showed her not to do, and we immediately both fell in the water. And I shouted to Ruary, who was taking photographs of a dragonfly emerging, and said, help, help, and there was no response. He just thought, you can get on with it, you can both swim, just get on with it, I'm busy.
I was doing some serious photography of an emergence. Sorry. So anyway, that's the third instar. The fourth instar, which we remember, was 1991, where we were involved in setting up a stand for the British Dragonfly Society at Olympia, at the Sunday Times Wildlife Exhibition, which was quite amazing. Jill and Ronnie Silsby were behind it, but Ray Medlock and Kay Thompson were there, and their idea of dragonfly work was basically to produce smoked salmon sandwiches and drink champagne, which we thought this is the kind of club we need to join. So we were all already members, but anyway. So that's our fourth instar. The fifth one, of course, was setting up the Dragonfly Museum, which had tremendous support from the British Dragonfly Society, which we'll always be grateful for. And there was one time when they had a meeting. The people in charge of the British Dragonfly had a meeting in the cafe, which Kari ran. And afterwards, we were all having drinks, and you better tell what happened with Peter Mill.
Well, Peter Mill was there, and he looked at me and said, Kari, I think you should write an education pack for school children. And I went, what? But he was very persuasive, and so I took it on board. And my sister and I did the illustrations. We did the whole design for the book. That's my sister Barrett, and Ruary did most of the writing. And I think that's what has ended up being your education pack. You've improved it a lot, by the way,
Yeah.
but the basis was there.
And we're trying to do one for New Zealand, which of course involves Maori culture, which is quite interesting. So we're having to rejig that quite a lot. Okay, the next instar was the setting up of the show at the Bird Fair, which we did initially, and as you know, the British Dragonfly Society joined us, and then continues to run it now, which is absolutely wonderful. But the very first one that we ran out of bags. We sold so much stuff, we ran out of bags.
And so I decided, all right, I'll go around and see if there any of the other stalls will help us and give us some of their carrier bags. And I went to a bird book stall, and they said, yes, of course. And they handed me these bags, and I thought, oh, this is wonderful. And I rushed back to the stand, to our stand. And to my horror, I looked at the bag and I saw that the logo was a huge hobby, which of course is the biggest enemy of dragonflies. But I thought, well, too bad, that's the way it goes.
Hey ho. Seventh Instar was working with the Dragonfly project when we moved away from Ashton to Wood Walton, and various people came along at various stages, but there's a story in connection with Paul Wally, which you might like.
Paul Wally and I were walking around Wood Walton looking at dragonflies and various other insects, and we suddenly heard this plop because we were by a stream. And we thought, ooh, a frog or something. Let's have a look and see what it is. And I suddenly saw my mobile phone slowly sinking into the water. That was it. I'd lost it.
We had great times at Wood Walton, but really it wasn't very good for getting the public there. And we were so lucky then to be able to move to Wickham Fen. And we used to do courses in the Wren building. Everybody who was involved will remember these courses. But afterwards we'd sit and have a drink. And there was a moment when we still had the TV microscope, which we would use to show people the activities of larvae on a big television screen. We'd feed the larvae. But so we were sitting having a drink afterwards, and...
Well, I had found a leaf that had dragonfly eggs in it. And so we thought, oh, we'll have a look and see if we can see the eggs and with the microscope and see them clearly and everything. And we were looking, and actually I was looking more than anyone else at this point because they'd all seen the eggs. And to my horror, I saw a tiny little wasp walking across and tapping onto the egg sites of the dragonfly eggs, and then turning around and laying its egg in the egg. And my first reaction was, kill it! And I suddenly realized this wasn't very...
We were horrified, everybody. Well, what on earth is Kari talking about? So anyway, so that's that. So the next instar, of course, was the cottage, which we had at Wickham Fen, and it was wonderful to be able to share this with the British Dragonfly Society. We had a fantastic opening with Chris Packham, and we have so many happy memories of that time. And we particularly remember lovely Ralph, who used to look after us so well. He was really quite special, and we really felt we ought to mention dear Ralph Sargent. So that was the 9th. The 10th instar happened relatively recently when we managed to organise for the British Dragonfly Society a hotspot at Exbury. And it was opened by Nick Baker. And before the actual opening, Nick and Tom Clark, the head gardener, and myself were going around in a buggy. Tom was showing Nick all the various things which Exbury has. And Nick, of course, is absolutely red hot on stuff like that. So we'd stop at a place, and there was 2 examples. The first one, which he said, I can smell stinkhorn, completely surprising. And the next one, we stopped somewhere else, and he said, I can hear a wood cricket. And I thought, I can't hear a damn thing. So I said to him, "Oh, I'm sorry, Nick, I did a lot of shooting when I was a while ago." He said, "Sorry, mate, that's no excuse. I was in a rock band." So anyway, it was a very happy day. And the British Dragonfly did a lovely show. They had a stand and entertained the kids and everything. So it was really great. And thank you to everybody for that. That was just marvellous. So that's the 10th. The 11th instar, of course, is our work in New Zealand, which is carrying on now. We're doing night filming of a particular dragonfly that's been around for 127 million years, Europetala carovii, but nobody knows because it operates at night. So that's what we're trying to find out more about. We're more than halfway there, but what we want to do is to get the moment when it finally climbs out of its burrow, which it lives in, and takes off. So we've got to go back and film that again. We're working with the Greater Wellington Regional Council too, doing transect walks and also helping setting up a model farmer's pond, doing the Maori version of the education pack. So we're pretty busy out there, really. So that's our 11th instar. We don't know what our 12th is going to be. Maybe there won't be. Maybe there'll be an emergence. You never know. Anyway, many congratulations to everybody. We think you're doing a fantastic job. It's so wonderful that it's doing so well and so many young people involved. Absolutely tremendous. And the group here in Scotland are marvellous. Anyway, have a great day.
Happy 40th.